Episode 1. The Creation of the World. Genesis 1-2. Imagine nothing. Not darkness, not silence, not emptiness. Because even darkness is already something. Even silence is the absence of sound, which means there is space. Space in which sound has nothing to fill. Even emptiness is a place that can be filled. No. Imagine the state before all of that. Before space. Before time. Before the very concept of before. That is where this story begins. And it is from this point, from absolute nothingness, that the Bible opens its very first page. The first words ever written about the beginning of all that exists are simple and at the same time thunderous. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That's it. One sentence, and already a universe. But what exactly was there at the very beginning? What would an observer have seen if they could have stood at the threshold of the first moment? The Bible describes it this way. The earth was without form and void. Darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Hovering. In the original language, this word carries the image of a bird hovering over its nest, trembling above something not yet born, but about to come into being. This is not a static picture, it is anticipation. It is the moment before the first breath, the silence before the first word. And then the word came. The first day. Let there be light. 3 words, and there was light. Not gradually, not slowly kindling from some distant point. It simply was. Where only a moment before there had been absolute, tangible darkness, light broke forth. And God saw that the light was good. Then came what the Bible calls a separation. God divided the light from the darkness. The light he called day, the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. Pause for a moment and consider this. There is no sun yet. No stars, not a single planet in the familiar sense, and yet there is light. And already there is a rhythm, evening and morning, as if the very structure of time is beginning to take shape, to find its form, to build a framework upon which everything else will rest. The second day. On the second day, God made an expanse. The expanse was a space that divided the waters. Some waters remained below, others were lifted above, and between them, a vast open space which God called the sky. Picture this moment. A boundless, dark mass of water suddenly parts, opens up. Between 2 layers of water, air appears, space, height, the depth of the sky. That very sky into which billions of people would gaze for thousands of years to come and never cease to wonder at its endlessness. And there was evening, and there was morning. The third day. On the third day, God turned to the waters below. "Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And the waters obeyed. They gathered, they pulled back, and where before there had been only a formless expanse of water, the earth rose up from the deep, solid, real. God called the dry land earth, and the gathered waters he called seas, and he saw that it was good. But the third day was not finished yet. God commanded the earth to bring forth vegetation, and the earth brought it forth. Grass began to push through the soil, then plants bearing seeds, then trees bearing fruit, each according to its kind, each carrying within itself the seed for the continuation of life. Picture this moment: a freshly exposed, bare, lifeless earth, and suddenly it begins to turn green. At first, tentatively, with the first shoots, the first leaves, then denser, brighter. Trees reach upward, grass covers the hills, flowers open in air where a bee has never yet hummed, because there are no bees yet. But the flowers are already there. And there was evening, and there was morning. The fourth day. 3 days had passed. There was light, there was sky, there was earth covered in green, and yet the heavens were empty. Each evening, darkness came the same, faceless, nameless. Each morning, light returned, but without a source, without a face. On the fourth day, that changed. God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens." And they appeared. 2 great lights, the greater to rule the day and the lesser to rule the night, the sun and the moon, and with them the stars. The stars. In one word, almost in passing, and suddenly the sky was filled with what billions of people would spend millennia counting, studying, navigating by, and weaving into legend. A countless multitude of fires scattered across the dark dome of night. God set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light upon the earth, to separate the day from the night, to serve as signs for seasons, for days, for years. And there was evening, and there was morning. The fifth day. The sky was ready. The earth was ready. The seas were full of water, but all of it was still silent. No movement, no sound. Not a single living creature in the water. Not one bird in the air. On the fifth day, the silence was broken. "Let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth." And the water came to life. Out of its depths, living creatures began to appear. Great sea creatures, the Bible calls them great sea monsters, cut through the water. Fish of every kind and size filled the seas. And above the surface of those suddenly living, churning, glittering waters, birds rose into the air. The first beating of wings in the history of the world. God blessed them. "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth." And there was evening, and there was morning. The sixth day, Part 1. On the sixth day came the turn of the earth. God commanded it to bring forth living creatures according to their kinds, livestock and creeping things and beasts of the earth. And the earth brought them forth, Animals came from it, all those we know, wild and tame, great and small, swift and slow, each according to its kind. The earth, so recently bare and empty, was now filled with life at every turn. Something moved through the grass, something wandered among the trees. Birds called out from the branches, fish splashed in the rivers. The world was almost ready. Almost. The sixth day, Part 2. The Human Being. And here the Bible pauses. Before this, everything had been created by a word, swiftly, authoritatively, finally. Let there be, and it was. But before God created man, something unusual appears in the text. What sounds is not a command, but a deliberation, a reflection, a decision made with particular weight. Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Let us make, not let there be, not simply a word cast into the void, but a decision turned inward, as though this moment carries a particular significance, a particular solemnity. And God created man. But how? The second chapter of Genesis opens the details. God formed man of dust from the ground, and then he did something he had done with no other creature. He leaned down, if one can say such a thing of God, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And the man became a living creature. Not merely another animal, not simply another being among the rest, made in the image of God, carrying within himself the very breath of God. This was a fundamentally different kind of creature, and the Bible makes that clear in everything it says from this point forward. God blessed the man, gave him dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heavens, over every living thing, appointed him keeper and steward over all the earth. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. Not simply good, as had been said of the other days, very good. With man in the picture, the image was complete, and there was evening, and there was morning. The seventh day. On the seventh day, God finished his work, and he rested. This is an important moment, easy to pass over. God did not rest because he was tired. That is not the idea. The Bible says he rested from all his work. He stopped. And this day, the day of stopping, the day of rest, God blessed and made holy. He set it apart from all other days, made it distinct. The seventh day became a day carrying something sacred within it from the very beginning of the world. The Garden in the East. But the story of the first days does not end there. God planted a garden in Eden in the east, and there he placed the man he had formed. Picture this garden. The Bible says, God made to spring up out of the ground every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. Not a desert, not a field, not a plain, but a garden. A place made with care and beauty. A place where every tree at once delights the eye and provides nourishment. In the middle of the garden grew two particular trees, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Garden. A river flowed through the garden, going out from Eden and dividing into 4 branches. The first was the Pishon, which flowed around the whole land of Havilah, where there was gold. The second was the Gihon, which flowed around the whole land of Cush. The third was the Hiddekel, that is, the Tigris, flowing east of Assyria. And the fourth was the Euphrates. Names we know, rivers that exist to this day, places that can be found on a map. A story that unfolds not in the clouds or in abstraction, but on real ground under a real sky. God placed the man in this garden to work it and keep it, and he gave him a commandment. You may surely eat of every tree of the garden, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. One restriction, one boundary, everything else open and available. The man alone. And here God speaks words that, for the first time in Genesis, sound like something that needs to be addressed. It is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him a helper fit for him. Not good. Up to this point, every day of creation had ended the same way. And God saw that it was good. Light, good. Earth, good. Plants, good. Animals, good. And now, for the first time, something that is not good. The man is alone. God brought before the man every beast of the field and every bird of the heavens, so that the man could name them. And the man gave a name to every living creature. This is a remarkable moment, the first act of human creativity, the first expression of reason. He names the world around him, assigns words, brings order. But among all living creatures, no helper fit for the man was found. The creation of woman. So God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and while he slept, God took one of his ribs and closed up its place with flesh. And from that rib he built a woman, and he brought her to the man. And the man, seeing her, said, "This at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man." The first words one human being ever spoke to another, the first recognition, the first meeting of two people in the history of the world. The Bible says, "Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother, and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." And both of them were naked, and were not ashamed. Not because they did not understand, but because they did not yet know what would come later. Because the world was still whole, unclouded, clean. Because between them and God, between them and each other, nothing stood. No fear, no shame, no concealment. This was the beginning, a pure, open, good beginning. 6 days, from nothing to a whole world, from absolute emptiness to sky and earth, seas and rivers, trees and animals, to the first man and the first woman in a garden where everything is good and everything is open. This is the first story of the Bible. It does not attempt to explain the mechanics. It does not offer chemical formulas or physics equations. It speaks of something else entirely, that behind all of this, the sky above, the ground beneath, the air in your lungs, there is a source, there is a beginning. there is one who said, "Let there be," and it was. And that same one who created the stars with a single word leaned down to a handful of dust and breathed life into it. It is from this point that everything that follows begins.